Good evening, everybody. It is September 28th. And for the first time this season, the Wyoming Cowboys have won a football game, and we are here with a victory post-game show, WyoNation post-game show. I am Chad Smith. The man applauding there is Mr. Bryan Stevens. Good evening, Bryan.
Good evening, Chad, and it is about time.
Yes. Much needed for all of WyoNation to see Wyoming win. And really, we'll get into it all, but it is really a tale of two halves, was it not?
It was, and I'll be the first one to admit, before this game started, when we got the updated injury report with DJ Jones being gone for a personal injury, Isaac White being doubtful, Braden Siders being doubtful, there was a whole slew of them. I definitely wrote the team up. There is nothing this season I had seen that said we will beat this also not good Air Force team, and I am so happy to be proven wrong.
That's right. And Joseph is in the house. How about them Cowboys? Yes, sir.
How about them Cowboys?
Yes, sir. So welcome on in, everybody. You can leave your comments if you're on YouTube is the easiest way. You can do it on Twitter, too. It's a little more funky, but you can leave your comments there. We'll put them on the screen. And while you're here, please subscribe. Please hit that like button. You'll get notifications when we go on the air. We do football post games. We do midweek roundup shows where we kind of break things down. So we have a lot of content, but it's not really no set schedule. So if you subscribe, you'll get the alerts and you'll know we're on the air. Clint's in the house again. Clint's always here. Good to see you. Bert better be buying the offense beer for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was I officiate high school football in Wyoming, and that is the easiest call on the planet. You're more than welcome to celebrate a sack. You can't stand over the player while you do it.
Yes.
NCAA rules are a bit different than high school rules, but that's pretty universal across the board.
Correct. Yeah, and we could talk about that. I know a lot of people on Twitter were saying it was a BS call, but I mean, you just can't do it. It's like in the face of an opponent and over an opponent. You can't celebrate.
Yeah, it's dumb, man.
Yeah.
It's just dumb.
Yeah. But you may like the rule, you may not like the rule, but it's the rule. So there you go. Matt is in the house on Twitter. Thank you. He says, was Air Force just that bad or the Pokes turn the corner? We will get to that. That's going to be the big substance of this post-game show, Matt. So, yes, good question.
There's a lot of layers to that one.
Yes. So, let's get into some stats. I'll throw it up here for everybody to see, and I need to get it on my big screen here. But cumulatives, and I haven't looked at them since halftime. So, here we go. Cumulatives. Wyoming outgained the Air Force, which is quite amazing considering I think they were down 2-1 at halftime. So I know Air Force
possession too. It was like 3-1 at halftime. So, it was really bad.
Yeah, Air Force had 219 yards in the first half, which means they only had 103 in the second, which is great. And that's big news because if you followed me on X, Twitter, I tweeted out that Air Force so far this season averaged 217 a game. And they had 219 in the first half. So the Wyoming defense really stepped up in that second half, as did the Wyoming offense. They had to have had well over 250 yards in the second half. And we'll get the breakdowns. There's buttons on here I could hit to make a look at this. But the key to the game for me, Bryan, is obviously here Mr. Svoboda played well. But the reason he was able to do that is down here.
They ran the ball with an effective running back.
Yes, Wyoming was able to run the ball. I haven't looked at the number. Probably their best running game of the season. Oh, yeah, for sure. 207 yards total. So
by far. So we're all waiting for Harrison Whaley to come back, and we got the news this week that he's only going to play 4 games this year.
Maybe
we can take that as doom and gloom, or we can take that as a guy that's injured and he's trying to come back. But at any rate, anyone with eyeballs knows that Sam Scott is the best option for this offense, and he delivered today.
Sure, he sure did. We'll bring this back up.
Say from the first series, they gave Sam Scott the ball, and the biggest difference between Sam Scott and DJ Jones and Jamari Farrell and whoever else they give the ball to is Sam Scott finds a hole and he hits it.
Yep.
And he runs angry and he runs downhill and he runs people over. And that's what Wyoming football has been built on for a decade now, is just it's one cut and go.
Yep. So 19 carries, 97 yards, 5.1 a carry. That will do. Did he have any catches? Let's see here. I'm not sure if he did. Don't think he had any receptions. He might have. One for no yards. So, yeah, I have a lot of notes here.
He had that screenplay. Screenplay that got
they ran a lot of screens, especially in the first half. That really didn't work. Joseph says Anderson should not have been in on that play. The helmet came off because a helmet-to-helmet hit.
So here's a little a little education session. If your helmet comes off during a play, you have to sit out the next play. It doesn't matter if it's a face mask. It doesn't matter if it's a helmet-to-helmet play. If your helmet comes off, you're out the next play. That's how it goes. So Anderson being in, it was the right call by the refs, and it turned out okay. But that's why Svoboda had to leave the game at that point.
Yeah. Clint says his helmet falls off all the time. Yeah, that is a question. Like, what's going on? I think it's coming off every game.
Chad and I were talking about this during the game. I don't know if he's not strapping up tight enough or what's going on, but it's at least once a game that it comes off, maybe twice a game.
Yeah. And I think it happened twice on third down, which is not good, or on second down, which gave up the third down. Now, how about was it the first time it happened? Crazy, right? Air Force brings an all-out blitz, which you should. And Anderson on a middle screen finds him for what? It was like a 30-yard gain. That was quite incredible.
Yeah. No, that was great. I think the play calling took some risks that we haven't seen this season yet, and it paid off in a big way.
Okay. I guess we'll just get into it. Let's just talk about the first half. The first half looked very much like the previous four games.
I will say the first half, when the game started, that fourth down stop was huge. And then Sam Scott came in and carried the team. Like, Svoboda had a good run in there too, but Sam Scott hit the hole, ran people over, and got us the touchdown right out of the gate. And the rest of the first half, nothing happened.
Sure. So the short field obviously really helped. Air Force doing a fake punt, which, right, in that situation, if you pull it off, you're ingenious. If it doesn't, you look like an idiot. So that's kind of a 50-50 type of thing. It didn't pay off for them, and Wyoming got off to the early lead. But as you said, didn't look too good the rest of that first half. It was a lot like we saw the previous four games, penalties, a lot of them procedural penalties. How about more bad snaps from the center? And then
I don't know what's going on with FIA this year on the snaps. It's something you practice all the time. I'm sure they've drilled it inside and out, but at this point, I'm kind of wondering if FIA's not a center. Like, he's a good lineman. Sure. He's good at pass blocking. He's good at run blocking. He moves the nose guard off the ball. Yeah. But you have to start looking at someone new to snap the ball because it's turned into a big problem this year.
No, it is. I've only seen it one time before, and that center got benched. And then that center, he did recover. He's now playing in the NFL. So these things can happen, right? I don't know. I think he needs to sit down because he can't be rolling balls on the ground.
Yeah, it's that. And this will be an admission I don't want to make, but I believe that my high school team is still tied for first in the state for most safeties in the game, and I was the center and snapped it over the quarterback and punter's head twice in a game.
Well done.
Yeah. Look up the Wyoming high school records. It's not something I'm proud of, but I can relate.
Let's look at some more stats here. Let me get this.
Shea Suianoa is another one to bring up. On defense, Shea had 13 tackles.
All right, yeah, we could go to
3
defense.
3 tackles for loss.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of sacks in this game.
Right here.
But But
yeah, Wyoming credited with 2 sacks, one by Harsh, and then a split sack between Westling and Bertinoli.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Harsh one didn't get split with Westland too.
Yeah, and
But
7
at any rate,
tackles for loss.
The defense looked great in that first drive and in most of the second half.
Yeah, and they looked more like the Wyoming defense that we're used to seeing, where they're rallying to the ball. So it was great to see. Other notes I have from the first half here. Let's see. Yeah, the short field TD. Okay, so in the first half, Svoboda, I do believe, or actually it was just the first quarter here. Let's do this. I go home, and I bring this back on screen here, and I go, what do I do? I figured it out earlier. Stats by quarter. Oh, here we go. That's nice. They have this kind of broken down already. Cool.
So the big stat to know here is after that, 40-yard, 44-yard drive in the first half?
Yep.
Knowing that, we had 83 yards of offense in the first half, and it was ugly. It was really, really ugly.
Right there. So this is nice. It's breaking down by quarter. So Svoboda, first quarter, was 0 for 3. Looking a whole lot like it was untimed. Now, in the second quarter, I didn't notice. He was still a little sloppy, but he was 6 for 7. But in the second half, look at this, especially this third quarter. I don't know what happened. He looked like a completely different quarterback. He was hanging in the pocket. He was actually making reads. I actually have in the first half, and I tweeted this, he telegraphs pretty much every pass. And he did so in the first half.
And he did it in the second half too. But the difference is the offense changed it to where you'd have, I saw one play in particular where this happened. Mm-hmm. Sam Scott was on the check down route at about 3 yards out. And you had Chris Durr coming in on an in at about 10 yards. So they're keeping 2 reads in the same field of vision. And
yes,
I think that Svoboda's big issue is that he stares receivers down, and the offense is really trying to make sure that he has multiple reads in the same line of sight, so that even if he's staring someone down, he's still got options.
There's more than one guy in that area. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, again, look, he looked great there. 8 of 9 for 115 yards.
Yeah. Now, I'll give Svoboda some credit. There is talent there. The guy's got an arm. The guy can run. He needs some better quarterback coaching, whether that's from the Wyoming staff or whether that's having a private coach in the offseason. The guy's talent is there. I buy into what Sawville's saying he's going to be a great quarterback from Wyoming someday, but he needs some coaching.
That's right, Clint. Coming into this game, we were outscored 52-0 in the third quarter. So with those 14 points, we've cut it down just to 52-14.
You know what? We are all frustrated with the 0-4 start to the season, especially the FCS loss, which should never happen, ever. I don't care how good Idaho is. It should never happen. That's a huge black mark on the coaching staff. That being said, if we do well in conference play and God forbid we make a conference championship game, which I don't think there's a chance in hell of happening. But if we do, we can consider that a successful season, even after the horrendous start to this year.
True. They could still come off the mat. I was looking at the schedule is actually quite interesting. Let me bring it up really quick, and then we'll talk more about some of this. But the next 4 games in particular are all winnable. If you play like you did today, you play at that level and you play at that standard, the next 4 games, you will be in them. It is San Diego State at home,
who are not good this year.
They just lost to Central Michigan today on the road.
Right. It was a close game.
Yep.
But they did lose to I'm not even sure if Central Michigan's a middle of the MAC road.
Yeah, I don't know.
Road in MAC.
Then you got at San Jose State, which again, it's a road game. Any road game for Wyoming is going to be hard the way we've played the past couple of years. But again,
I mean, any game is going to be hard for Wyoming this year. Let's just Leave it at that.
And then Utah State at home, and then at New Mexico. So if you play to the level that we just seen, and mainly in the second half, the first half was a little, or the first quarter, I'd say, it was a little ropey. But it was progress, but we still have the four big things that we just talked about that are the main reasons we lost the first four games. Those issues are still there, but they finally made some improvements on those. So now that is the key, is with a bye week, building on this and eliminating these mistakes, because especially the bad snaps, because a bad snap can lose you a game.
Yeah, it's basically a loss of down. It's the same as an intentional grounding. You're going to lose the down, and you're going to lose the yardage.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Bruiser, I don't disagree that he can't give him some pointers, but I mean, let's call it what it is. Josh wasn't great in college. He made some amazing plays, just incredible, and he made some incredibly boneheaded plays too. He has gotten leaps and bounds better in the pros, and
yes.
I don't know I don't know where the problem is, and I don't know what the solution is. But Svoboda has the talent. The talent is there. The coaching is lacking for whatever reason. It might be the Wyoming staff. It might be that he doesn't seek it in the offseason. But something needs to change for him on that end.
Yeah, and the TV hit on this too, and I agree. And so, we talked about he was more successful in the passing game because we were able to run the ball with a running back with Sam Scott. And B, they were so terrified of him. I think that kind of opened up, right? So I agree at the college level, if you're not running your quarterback, or if you're not recruiting running quarterbacks, I think you're stupid. Because in college, especially at a place like Wyoming, where you're not going to, have like a 5-star pocket passer, your quarterback should be part of your run game, because it gives you so many advantages against any defense. And so that kind of really helped things.
Can we also talk about my biggest pet peeve of this season?
Sure. What does that mean?
In a nutshell, we have a 3rd and 1, we have a 4th and 1.
Yes.
And you're running the offense out of the shotgun. You have a 6'5", 250-pound quarterback that all he has to do is lean into the center and he'll get a yard.
I mean,
I understand analytics-wise, if you look across the entire NCAA, you are more successful out of the shotgun than you are under center. But most teams do not have a 6'5", 250-pound quarterback that you can just run into people.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk about Josh Allen because Svoboda's obviously not Josh Allen, but with Josh Allen, what did we do? How many times did we get under center and do these sneaks? Yeah. So I say, if it's 3rd and short, just sneak it. But I don't think we've had maybe 1 or 2 this season.
Oh, we've had close to a dozen. There
out of shotgun though, but I mean under center is what I'm saying.
Oh, under center,
they're not doing them under center. With Josh, they would just get under center, and it would be him and the center were the only people who would move.
I understand this coaching staff is big on analytics. I think the basketball team is going to be big on analytics too, but you have to do what makes sense as opposed to what the numbers say sometimes.
Yeah. So Bruiser, I think if you just hopped on and we just talked about the next 4 games, if we play like that, we have a chance to win all 4 of them. And you could really turn your season around, right? If you went like 3-1 in conference play in the next 4 games, and then you're looking at a 4-1 conference record going into your brutal stretch. I mean, it's brutal. It's Colorado State, Boise State, Washington State. 3 Pac-12 teams.
It could go either way. We could lose every game, or we could win every game. This team's kind of bipolar right now. I think they started to finally establish an identity this game, and that identity is run the ball.
Yeah, which I don't know why it took this long to figure that out.
I understand what they're trying to do. They were trying to get more balance with the passing game and the running game, which is what we've all been screaming about for 10 years. And I appreciate that, but they leaned more heavily into the pass than they did the run. And we have to be, the way this team is built right now, we have to be a run-first team.
Yeah, actually, this was the most imbalanced we've been all year. 22 passes to 41 rushes.
which is where we should be.
I agree. Yeah. But
Like,
but I also don't mind
no
balance
one
if you
thinks
can do
we
it.
need to be an air raid offense. I know that was Craig Bull's big thing all the time. We're not going to be an air raid offense. Great. That's not what we're asking for. We're asking to complete a pass from time to time.
Yeah, so like today, here we'll bring it up again. This is the key number right there. Look at that. 71% on 21 passes for Svoboda. That's all. That's all you need to do. You run the ball and you do that, you're going to win most of your games.
Think of the Pittsburgh Steelers in the early 2000s when Ben Roethlisberger got there and they let him throw it maybe 15 to 20 times a game. That's where we're at. Like, give the running backs the ball, make that the focus of the offense, be able to complete a pass from time to time.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Bruiser's back again. Bruiser says he's a poke transplant on the boards. Oh, okay. I got you, man. Very good. So that is where we can talk about. Of course, we would not be here. We're WyoNation.com. We would not be here if WyoNation.com did not exist. It is your go-to place for getting amongst the Poke faithful a free and open message board, the only one there is in the state of Wyoming, where we have all kinds of fun. People get all kinds of information. So cool, man. Glad to have you.
And hey, since we're being transparent, I'm YO1016 on the board. I've been there forever. Feel free to roast me at any time.
Yeah. And then I think I'm Wix.
Yeah.
You'll see me. I'm on there a lot, posting mainly these videos and chatting it up with people. So, all right. Well, I noticed that our viewers are down on the Twitter right now. I think because people are not as outraged when we win. In the past couple post games have been a lot of rage and a lot of people. So, but I would come to the post game when we win because we're a lot more cheery and we could talk about happy things and rainbows and butterflies. Like right now, we're talking about possibly going like 4-1 to start conference play or something crazy. I mean,
and to be clear, I think that's a very lofty goal.
Yes, of course it is, but it's possible. We've seen them do something now.
It is. If the offense is efficient, if they run the ball more than they pass, and if we give our tunnel vision quarterback a few options in the same tunnel, we can be successful.
Yep. Yeah. Because that's where he got in trouble. When he telegraphs and people are going to jump the routes. So I agree with you. I think I don't know. That'd be a good question. I wish I could ask questions. They won't let me ask questions anymore, but I would ask that. Like, is that a concept that you've done on purpose?
It seemed to me in the second half, I watched pretty closely every second half passing play, and there's 4 routes going on at the same time in a pass play, but there were always 2 within the same line of vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a high-low. And it's not – that happens, right? There's NFL systems that run that. Like you said, the Steelers run that system.
Or at least they did when they had a rookie quarterback that needed to run that system.
Exactly. All right. Other things on the stat sheet that jump out to you, Bryan?
Well, the 5.1 yards per carry from Sam Scott is great.
Mm-hmm, right there.
The other one that gets me is 3 receptions for an average of 27.3 yards from Chris Durr Jr.
Yes, right there.
All season long, and for some reason he hasn't seen playing time. I don't know if they're trying to save him, if they're trying to get him his 4 years his 4 games so he can still redshirt next year. But as we saw this game, that guy is a playmaker.
Yeah, I don't know if I would play that game with him. Obviously, the big one was on his 32-yarder where he just caught a simple, I don't know if he ran like a quick hook or a curl, and he just got around. He just rolled off the linebacker.
He turned around and ran for another 27 yards.
Whoa, what's this? Matthew's got something here. Hold on, my mouse is getting a little crazy. I did not see this. His dad was implying on Twitter that he'd be leaving soon. See, and that's the problem.
Who would be? Are we talking about Durr?
Durr, I think. Is this Durr's dad? Or are we talking about Whaley now?
If we're talking about leaving, I got to be honest. I'm a little worried to see that DJ Jones was out for a personal reason today. Not that DJ Jones has been the greatest running back this year, but I do think he's got a ton of talent. They're just not putting him in a situation to succeed. But when you have a player that is out for personal reasons with no other explanation given, the day that the game happens, it's a little worrying.
Oh, and it is game 5. Ooh, that is good timing, right? He played his 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to monitor. And you're saying it, right? It's not just Wyoming. Obviously, UNLV, very high profile. It happened.
Yeah.
USC had a guy.
UNLV had some issues this week.
Yes, they did.
And hey, we're happy to have UNLV. Thanks for staying.
We are. Yes, thank you.
As most of you know, I'm the basketball guy for
here we go.
For the WyoNation podcast, but staying in Vegas for the basketball tournament is a good thing.
Yeah.
Especially
all right. So he's saying it is Chris, their senior, who was running his mouth about something. So we'll see. I don't know.
If you give him the ball, he probably won't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Gillenborg being back was good too. I know he's had ankle problems, and I still don't think he's 100%. But he looked good.
No, they're babying him still.
Yeah.
For sure.
Bruiser, I definitely agree. Give opportunities for Duran King to stretch the field. I don't have a lot of faith in King as a receiver. I think he's got some ball security issues, but that dude is fast.
You could run him
really fast
in those jet sweeps.
Yeah.
And you saw the influence he had on the punting game. I was going to mention that nobody's punting the ball anywhere near him.
It's a Devin Hester situation.
Yeah.
Not a great receiver, really, really good football player.
Yeah. So, and you saw a couple times he was lining up as a running back.
Yes.
So I think they're setting it up for they could do a lot of things. I don't know if he can take a straight handoff and do anything.
No. He's an outside guy. He's got to use his speed to get around people because that dude is quick. He is really quick.
So get him on the edge, make people defend the whole width of the field is what you got to use with him. And if you had him and Durr out there at the same time, then you give people a lot of things to think about.
You know, the receiving core for Wyoming is not bad. Not bad at all. You've got Pellissier, who's the tallest receiver on the team. He's got really good speed. He's a good vertical threat. Justin Stevenson has been really impressive this year. The dude tends to get open, and he's got really good hands. He hasn't had a ton of receptions, but the ones that are thrown at him, he catches.
Yeah. And again, what I like about this offense so far, and I've talked about it, I think, every game, they're distributing the ball to a lot of different guys. Now, again, I don't know. Would you rather feed your best players, or would you rather have like this where you're seeing, 16 receptions by 8 different guys?
I'm okay with the 16 receptions by 8 different guys, except the coaching staff in the offseason very clearly said, we're going to pick our 10 best players. We're going to get them the ball. That hasn't happened this year so far until this game. They got Sam Scott the ball. They got Chris Durr the ball. They got Gillenborg the ball. They got King the ball. Like, they're putting the ball in the hands of the people that need to have the ball in their hands. And they're not screwing around with whatever they were doing the first 4 games.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else in here that jumps out to me? Let's see. Time of possession ended up being pretty even after being pretty lopsided there for a while.
It was 3-1.
Yeah, it was.
It was really, really bad.
I was calculating yards per pass attempt. Looking at these stats, I think Wyoming probably still lost it, but this is the run, right? Air Force doesn't really throw enough to make yards per pass attempt really worth anything. But I remember the one time I did calculate it, it was like 8 yards per attempt, which is great. So let's see what it ended up being here.
We're at 7.9 yards per attempt for Sabota and 8.8 for Busha. I forget how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Boucher.
They're saying Boucher.
It's Boucher.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Boucher. Okay. So what was it again? Sorry.
8.8 for Boucher, 7.9 for Sabota.
Okay, so we lost Boucher, it, but won the game. Yeah.
Yeah, Boucher hit some passes in the first half.
First half. Yeah.
Yeah. And then pretty much if you got on WyoNation or on Twitter, the consensus was it's pretty bad when Air Force has a quarterback that can throw the ball better than a Wyoming quarterback.
Yeah, and he was hitting his long pass
disagree.
In the first half for sure. He was hitting, and it seems like no matter what the quarter, I think they could have a quarterback with no arms, and Air Force would still find a way to hurt Wyoming with their passing game.
Right, but it does end up like I can't fault Air Force for what they're doing. They're a triple option team.
No, yeah,
you have to throw it from time to time. 13 pass attempts like Air Force had today. That's really, really out of bounds. They usually only have single digits, which is where they want to be. They want to be a run.
Let's see if we click on him. Do you have the size on Boucher? He looked like a pretty small dude to be playing a triple option quarterback.
He's an option quarterback for Air Force. He's 6'2", 200. So he's not tiny, but he's not a big guy either.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just say I think that's probably the worst Air Force offense I've seen in my life. I'm sure there's been worse. I would say
it's probably the worst Air Force defense too. Like, let's call this what it is. Air Force is a bad team. Wyoming, also a bad team.
Yeah.
We're not the worst though. Hooray.
And it could be that this wing just could be, it could just be us beating a bad team at home. And we'll have another opportunity to beat a bad team at home in San Diego State. And then we'll have a chance to beat a bad team on the road, right? When we go to New Mexico.
Well, and CSU. I expect to win the boot every year, and I will be severely disappointed if we don't.
Yeah, they're on a bye this week, obviously.
Folks, if you didn't hate the Sheep before, like if you were still west side of the state, we really hate BYU. I'm with you. I can't stand BYU, but we need to just beat the hell out of the Sheep year in and year out from now until the end of time. I can't stand them. I've got a lot of friends in Fort Collins. I've got a lot of friends that went to CSU. I hope they choke on their vomit every game.
But yeah, so overall, I think this Air Force offense was about as they have like no weapons.
Well, they had the one receiver, I forget his name. Where are we at? Was it Carson? I think it was Carson.
Matthew. That's interesting. I'm glad he deleted it. He probably was just having a bad day. I think you're right. People have bad days. I have bad days.
Yeah. No, I have plenty of them. This is I'm as drunk as you'll ever see me on camera. So
sorry, you were actually making a point about something and I cut you off.
Yeah, no, Air Force has their best person right now. I think it was Dylan Carson. He wasn't the starter that was out. I think he was the receiver.
Carson was he's been out, I think, all year. Today was his first game.
So it might have been Hodges then. Kemper Hodges, he was the receiver that everybody was hyping up, and he did really well during the first game of the season, and he's been out for a little while too. And I think Wyoming did a really good job of shutting down the option. I know it's a big focus every year.
Hey, Drew.
Glad you made it back to the hotel, Drew.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job stopping the option. Air Force popped a couple plays. I was worried about that coming in, especially with our safety injuries, that we'd be undisciplined. But Air Force is always going to pop a couple, right? It's almost impossible to play perfect.
They run the option. That's what they do. They are an option team, and they are really good at being an option team. I can't stand Troy Calhoun. I think he's a douchebag, to put it bluntly. But the guy can coach the option really, really well. So I'm pretty impressed with how we did on the defensive side.
Yeah, I thought they did after the first half, obviously, because they gave up 200 yards in the first half. Not good. What did the total ended up being? 322, which is not bad. That actually might be our least amount we've allowed this year. Let me double check this on the game logs here really quick. We'll go to Wyoming. We'll go to total yards, game logs.
So while you're looking at this, Sawville on the postgame conference said that Sam Scott's play is on a skyward trajectory, and he didn't play like this in August. He's doing everything better, which answers a lot of questions for us because all of us that have watched Wyoming football for the last 4 years know that Sam Scott is a bruiser that can catch the ball. He's a good back. He's not Harrison Whaley.
No.
Nobody thinks he's Harrison Whaley.
No.
But after watching DJ Jones play, after watching Jamari Farrell play, it boggles my mind that Sam Scott hasn't gotten more carries, especially after seeing what he's done this season. And I think we might have lost Chad. So I'm just.
Oh no, I'm reading this. I kind of froze. Matthew has this thing, and I was trying to read his comment. I don't just want to throw things up there because God knows what people will say. But I think Matthew's a trusted viewer.
Yeah.
It's PSA. I think it needs to be taken seriously. Stop watching the Backstab 5 and Ozu take a fraction of their revenue. Obviously, unless there's yeah, that's a whole other issue.
Hey, you know what? Let's talk about it. We're here.
Yeah.
It's you can't convince me that the teams that have gone to the pack whatever are any better than what the Mountain West is right now.
Yeah.
Like it's insane to me that the leagues just didn't merge, add Oregon State and Washington State, and keep the profile of the league as it is. Because as it stands right now, you've got all the state schools minus San Jose State that moved over to the Pac side.
Yeah.
And you've got all the other schools that stayed in the Wyoming side or the Mountain West side. We'll call it the Wyoming side.
We'll call it the Wyoming side. I like it.
And reports today were that Texas State got a verbal offer to join the Mountain West, which I'm not against. But you can't tell me either of those leagues is better than the other one.
No, they're not. Yeah, it is ridiculous, but it's all about ego. And as far as the reporting that I've read, I just think it is the Oregon State and the Washington State presidents. They're so butthurt about not being Power 5 anymore. And they're so hung up on keeping the Pac-12 name for whatever reason, just because, again, I understand because it is a brand name. But again, like I've said, if you haven't seen this before, my analogy is they are Dr. Thunder. And somehow they got Dr. Pepper, went out of business, and now Dr. Thunder is going to slap a Dr. Pepper label on Dr. Thunder and is going to tell you, hey, now this is Dr. Pepper. And they're going to
say Dr. Thunder's better than Mr. Pibb.
Yes. So it's like, okay, you're the Pac-12, but you can call it whatever you want. I don't care. You're not the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is dead. It's gone. Right. The Pac-12 is dead. All those schools left. They're gone. They're dead.
So any football fan in the country that's not a homer for one of the teams that went over to the new Pac, knows that the best move would have been to just merge the conferences, have the best G5 conference, because it's not going to be a P5 conference. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not going to happen. There's haves and there's have-nots in college football.
Yeah.
We're clearly in the have-not phase. This is reminding me a lot of the FBS 1A and 1AA split back in the 70s. It's probably going to end up that way. But instead of diluting it and saying we're going to have, the Pac and the Mountain West, and they're going to be, one is going to be better than the other. They're not. They're really not. They're going to be the same league.
Yeah. And I would give a slight edge to the Pac-12, obviously, because they have more of the brand names, and that's what they bought, right? They spent a lot of money to get some brand names. Doesn't mean they're good, right?
But what brand names?
Well, Boise's a national brand.
Right. And
And that's all. I mean, CSU's not national.
Right.
Maybe
CSU's not. Utah State certainly isn't.
Fresno and San Diego State are recognizable.
Hey,
just
I
'cause they're in
will give
California.
San Diego State basketball is elite for sure. Fresno,
No,
I mean,
they're kind of middle of the road.
Pat
in
Hill's
everything.
been gone for a while, man.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it is a shame that they didn't just merge, and I think it still could happen, but a lot of people would have to bury some hatchets, and I don't know if that's likely. Rashawn's in the house. What's up, man? Congrats to your son. Tell him congrats for us.
Hey,
Well deserved.
yeah.
Well deserved win. I'm sure he's going to be happy. Yeah. So it's just stupid. Conference realignment's dumb.
It is. But hey, let's get back to the Wyoming game.
Yeah.
A few players I want to call out for good things.
Okay. Let's do it.
Stevenson. Is it Justin or Justice? I forget which. Justin Stevenson.
Yeah.
That guy has a really good tendency to get open. I don't know why he doesn't get more catches. He does a really good job. I know he only had 2 receptions for 1 yard this game, but that's highly skewed to he had a really good play and he had a screen pass that got blown up.
Yeah, and he's been open
to be a good
in
player.
a lot of these games. Early games, he's been like wide open. A lot.
Yeah, a lot. He's really good. The biggest problem we've had with Wyoming receivers over the last few years is yes, they can catch, yes, they can run, no, they can't get open.
Yes, that's been our big problem.
It's been a problem for a long time.
And I think this scheme they're scheming people open finally.
Yeah. There's a lot of I'd call this maybe I'm not sure if it's a pro form, it might be a power spread, but they're trying to spread the defense out while still being identifying as a running team.
100%. And I think you're seeing, as I said, our best case scenario when we hired Johnson is if you looked at the film when he was at Louisiana, amazing offense he was running there. And now that I think about it, tonight looked an awful lot like that, where they ran the ball down people's throats but could pass.
The second half.
In the second half, yes.
At the beginning of the season, I was drinking the Kool-Aid a lot. Jay Sawville's a likable guy. I've got a friend that knows people on the staff and has
Sure, Bruiser.
We can call them the Pac State, the state conference, whatever you want. I mean, we still have San Jose State. But yeah, we can call them
They might have to poach them just to get the 8. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. I mean, we're getting Texas State apparently, as it looks.
Maybe,
But we're trying to reinvent the wheel too much, and if you stick to what we know and then kind of grow it a little bit on one side, that's the way to go. It seems like they finally figured that out after 4 games, after a disastrous 4 games. Like it was bad. It was Chad and I went to college together, and our first year
Vic Koenig era bad.
We were there for Vic Koenig,
or worse actually, because Vic Koenig actually had good offenses.
Yeah. Yeah, Vic Koenig, Joe Glenn's first year, but at least Joe Glenn's first year, we beat BYU and CSU in the same year out of the 4 games we won. Like it was bad. It was really, really bad. And that's what we were seeing for the first 4 games of this year. And I'm not ready to say it's not there yet. Like we beat a bad Air Force team, guys. It's a bad team. It's the worst Air Force team I've seen in a long time. Yeah, Drew, I agree. They've been slacking for a long time. I really hope they've turned the corner. I really hope they take this bye week and they move forward and do what needs to be done to be a better team. I'm pretty jaded from the first third of the season, so I'll believe it when I see it. But I really hope so, man.
No, yeah, it's a starting point, and that's all you could ask for. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting to hear the post game once they release the audio on that sucker to see what they say. But I think this will be a big relief for the coaches to kind of get this monkey off their back But here's the problem, right? As Bryan said, or actually he didn't say this, so I'll say it. Now everything they just did that was successful, what is it, Bryan? Now it's on film. So everybody now is going to watch that second half film, and they're going to do whatever they can to take away those concepts. So,
but it's nothing different than they've done earlier in this year. They've run every single one of those plays.
Yeah. No, I agree, and that's what I was going to say. It's sustainable because it's not like we were running all these like bullcrap trick plays or something, right?
Right.
It was sustainable because we're running regular plays out of our base offense, and so that's what's encouraging.
I think the big key that other teams are going to key in on is the 2 reads in the same line of vision. I think that's if anything, that's what's going to bite us, because they know they don't have to cover the post when there's an in and a dump pass underneath. That's where we're going to run into problems. So if we don't build up quarterback play,
we'll probably be jumping those lower routes.
Right.
They're deep. Yeah.
This is still not a good team, guys. Like I'm really glad we won. I really am. I've got Wyoming tattooed all over me, quite literally. I'm so happy we won. But there's
so this gets down to the scheduling. Yeah, scheduling, and I've said this before. Scheduling college football is the stupidest freaking thing on the face of the earth. Scheduling games like 7, 8, 9, 10 years in advance. Why? You need to set up your coach.
You look at it compared to basketball too, where you're like, okay, football, we've got all of this planned out. And basketball, it's like, well, we're waiting on the schedule this year because we're missing a home non-conference game, and we got to get that done before we can release it.
Exactly. And we showed, like during COVID and other things, that you can put games together quickly and you can build a schedule that meets your team, right? Like in a perfect world, I think we'd all agree that, okay, we have a first-year quarterback and we have a first-time head coach. You probably don't want to play the tough schedule we had, but there's nothing you can do about it. But think if in college football you could do something about it, and maybe we schedule a little weaker. That's good for the program, right? So that's what I think we need to get away from all this. And people say it, but then I keep saying so-and-so scheduled a game for 2030 against, it's like, why? Why are we doing this?
The thing that drives me nuts about our scheduling is we still schedule an FCS team. There's no winning off of that. There's no winning, because you're either going to beat the hell out of a team that's perceived to be at a lower level than you, or you're going to lose to a team that's going to be perceived to be at a lower level than you. Tell me how much better it is to schedule in Idaho as opposed to scheduling in Akron.
Sure. And just so everybody knows, Wyoming has a big problem next year too, because we have Utah and Colorado on the schedule next year. Again, that does us no good to have both of them on our schedule.
The Colorado thing was a big surprise to me this year when I was looking at schedules.
Yeah. And that game was scheduled like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Oh yeah. It was pre-COVID. By far. And it was one of those where you look at it and you're like, what? Really?
Yeah. So playing 2 Big 12 schools in your non-conference, maybe we'll handle it better next year, but who knows? What else did I want to say? Yeah, we're hitting some good stuff here tonight, folks. You guys have got some good comments. But yeah, the scheduling is interesting. Yeah. Holy mackerel.
I will say that the Bertinelli personal foul. Okay.
Yeah, we talked about this to the top, but I know a lot of you didn't join in, so go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, so celebrating a sack is fine. Celebrating it over the player that you sacked is not. It was a good call by the refs. It was a bad move by Bertinelli. If he'd just taken 3 steps back, no problem at all. But it was a good call by the refs.
Yeah. So I saw a lot of people complaining about that, and the rule is you can't celebrate in the face or over a player, and he was over the quarterback.
He was. If he'd have bent down, he'd have teabagged him, man.
Yeah,
it was really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see the official of the attendance. So Drew's saying 25. Do they have it on the stat street? Usually they do. Let me look. Let's see what the official was. Official attendance tonight. Oh, it says in the official 23,068, which is still good.
I'm happy to hear that. So, full disclosure, guys, this is the first Wyoming game I have ever not attended because I didn't want to go. Ever. I'm 42. I'm pushing 42. I'm turning 42 in a few weeks. I've missed games before. I've had to work. I've had prior commitments, things like that. This is the only time I've ever been able to go to a game and have not, because this team is, up until tonight, looked like trash. And I'm not the only one in that boat.
Oh, sure. I don't know. They kept saying it was a sellout on TV, and I'm like, I don't think so. Maybe it was. And
I saw the West Stands. It was not.
Did we? Well, I'm saying maybe it was. And did we have like 7,000 no-shows?
Well, I know I gave my tickets away to some guy that was bringing some high school kids up from Colorado, and I hope they enjoyed the game.
Yeah. No, that's fine, Drew. I know. I mean, who knows? If they announced 25 at the game, is what you're saying?
I didn't say anything. So
no, Drew's saying that. That's what he heard. So that's fine. It doesn't matter. Good crowd, for sure. So that's all that matters. So yeah, I think that's pretty much. Yeah, I mean, yeah. How many schools would you still have that crowd after no enforced start? Not many. That's a good point.
I'm not happy with the timing of homecoming, but I think it ended up well as the season had gone. Like, usually it's in mid-October. This year it's at the end of September. So I don't know if the university knew this was going to happen, but good job scheduling homecoming when we finally had a chance to win a game.
Yes. All right. Let's see here.
Well, we're bumping up on an hour, Chad. So I'm just going to push.
Let's do it.
A regular WyoNation podcast coming up on Wednesday. We're going to break down the basketball schedule since it's a bye week for football.
Yep.
I don't know if you all saw Sundance Wix's Twitter today. He was attending the game with Mark Bailey and Josh Davis. So that's awesome. So hopefully we see some exciting things out of the basketball team. We'll break down the schedule and why things went the way they did.
And we'll look at the roster too, because now we got official weight and heights, which is also interesting. And we have a lot of interviews to go over.
Yeah, we've heard from the coaches who's doing good, who's lagging behind, who may redshirt, who probably won't. Like, there's a lot of good stuff coming from the basketball team. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm super excited that Wix is back, and I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So Bryan,
if we only win 10 games, at least it's going to be exciting for the 10 games that we win. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. So bye week. So we'll be focusing on some basketball midweek, and we got all kinds of news and notes for you from various interviews, and there should be more stuff coming out between now and then too as well. So quick thoughts? No, you'll have to tune in on Wednesday. And we'll talk more basketball. Or you could actually go to, it's in the archives on YouTube. You can go to when we hired Sonny. Nothing's changed since then. So if you really want like our...
So Bruiser's asking for quick thoughts on Sonny. I'm our resident basketball nerd at WyoNation. There is a reason that the team was flat last year. And I personally believe that reason was that Sundance Wix was no longer on the coaching staff. While he was there was energy. We had I forget what they're called. It was guys on the end of the bench that kept celebrating. And I'm going to get roasted for this on WyoNation for not knowing this, but it's slipping my mind right now. Wix, his bring your own juice slogan is it's not an act. That guy is high energy
Oh, yeah.
all the time. He's a good hire for the right time, and I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah. So I think we'll leave it there. We're close to an hour, which is good. It's better to talk for an hour about a win than an hour about a loss, which we've done the past couple of weeks. So Wyoming improves to 1-4 on the season. They have a
1-0 in Mountain West. Let's highlight that.
1-0 in the Mountain West.
1-0 in Mountain West.
So we are technically tied for first in the Mountain West with everybody else who's won. So, you could screenshot those standings in the morning. And bye week, and then they'll be hosting San Diego State, who is a very winnable game.
And they are the Pack defectors, so I hope we destroy them.
There we go. Pack defectors. I like it. What else was I going to say? Yeah, so we'll be back Wednesday. We'll announce the time, but we'll be talking some basketball. We'll talk about the schedule, talk a little more about the roster. But if you missed, I think we have two shows. We have a roster show we did in the summer, and then we have a show that we talked about Wicks when he first got hired. So those are archived on the channel. You can watch those. Nothing's changed. Our opinions haven't changed because they haven't played any games yet.
It's coming soon, though.
Yep, very, very soon. So, all right. Well, thank you, Bryan, for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And thank God that the Pokes won a game and looked pretty good doing it.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that, and we'll see you on Wednesday for some basketball talk. Until then, everybody, take care.
See you guys.